A major report dropped this month showing that hailstorms now cost losses on par with a Category 4 hurricane. Insurance companies have been leaving Florida for years. Premiums have doubled in some areas, and if you're thinking about moving to Tampa, I already know what you've heard. You've heard it's a nightmare. You might be even thinking this is not even worth it. And here's what I have to say before we go any further. Some of that is true, and some of it is 2022 news being recycled in 2026. If you're making a buying decision based on fear without knowing which is which, that's where people get hurt. So in this video, I'm gonna do something most agents won't. I'm gonna give you the actual numbers, the real risk, the specific Tampa neighborhoods where insurance is manageable, and the ones where it will surprise you. If you're seriously considering Tampa, this is the most important video you'll watch. So let's get into it. Let me start by telling you why the fear exists, because it's not made up. Between 2017 and 2023, Florida homeowners insurance market was in a genuine crisis. Carriers were losing money. Lawsuits were being filed by contractors, not homeowners. A legal loophole called assignment of benefits fraud was draining insurance companies dry. Reinsurance costs, that's the insurance that insurance companies buy for themselves, skyrocketed globally after back-to-back hurricane seasons. The result? Over a dozen insurance carriers left Florida entirely. The ones that stayed raised rates dramatically, and Citizens Insurance, the state-backed insurer of last resort, became the largest insurer in Florida almost by accident. And this month, a report from a company called Cotality found that hailstorms, not just hurricanes, now represent losses comparable to a major hurricane landfall. That hit the news cycles hard and sent a fresh wave of panic through buyers researching Florida. So I get it. If you're sitting in Ohio or New Jersey or California reading headlines, Florida looks like an insurance war zone. But here's where that narrative breaks down. Most of those headlines are national. They don't tell you that Tampa Bay's market is meaningfully different from Miami, the Keys, or coastal Lee County. They don't tell you that major legislative reforms in 2023 have started to stabilize the market, and they don't tell you that the buyers who are getting hurt are almost always the ones who didn't ask the right questions before they bought. And that is what this video is all about. Before I go further, let me share with you something that will totally surprise you. Here's what the headlines aren't telling you. In 2023, Florida passed significant insurance reform legislation. The goal was to kill the litigation abuse that was bankrupting carriers, and it worked. Partially. We've seen several new carriers enter Florida market since then. Citizens Insurance has been actively shedding policies, which sounds scary, but it's actually a good sign. It means private carriers are willing to take the risk again. Premiums are still higher than the national average. I'm not gonna pretend otherwise, but the trajectory has shifted. The cliff dive of 2021 through 2023 has leveled off for most properties in Tampa Bay. Now here's the part that matters for you specifically. Not all Tampa Bay is the same. A home on a barrier island in Pinellas County and a home in Wesley Chapel are not the same insurance conversation. A 1960s block home on the waterfront and a 2023 new construction home inland are completely different numbers. The buyer who walked insane, I heard Florida insurance is $8,000 a year. You're usually quoting a coastal Sarasota or Naples property. That number is real for that type of property. It's just not a Tampa Bay average. There are 5 things that will determine what you pay for homeowners insurance in a Tampa Bay property. Understanding these will actually give you the leverage you need as a buyer. Number 1, roof age. This is the single biggest variable. Insurance carriers in Florida are obsessive about roofs. A home with a roof over 15 years old will either be significantly more expensive to insure, require a roof replacement before a carrier will bind coverage, or even both. A brand new roof, That alone can reduce your premium by 30 to 40%. When you're evaluating a home in Tampa, ask the roof age before you ask anything else. Number 2, flood zone. And I'm gonna spend more time on this in a minute because it's its own section. But understand that a flood insurance in Florida is a completely separate policy from your homeowner's insurance. Most buyers from out of state don't know this. If you're in a high-risk flood zone, FEMA flood insurance can add $2,000 to $5,000 a year on top of your regular home premium. If you're in a low-risk zone or elevated out of the floodplain, which new construction often is, flood insurance might be $600 a year or not even required at all. Number 3, proximity to water. The closer to the coast, the higher the wind risk, the higher the premium. Properties on or near open water, Tampa Bay, the Gulf, Barrier Islands, carry the highest rates. As you move inland to areas like New Tampa, Wesley Chapel, Brandon, Land O'Lakes, premiums drop meaningfully. This is one of the reasons I always ask buyers, how important is waterfront to you? Because it's a lifestyle decision that carries a real financial cost, and you should make it with open eyes. Number 4, construction type. Concrete block construction rates better than wood frame. Impact resistant windows and doors, common in new construction, qualify for significant wind mitigation discounts. A wind mitigation inspection can sometimes save you $1,000 or more per year. This is one of the documents I request for every buyer before closing, and I'll talk about that checklist at the end. Number 5, home value. Obvious but worth stating, a $600,000 home costs more to insure than a $350,000 home. If you're coming from a high cost of living market where $600,000 is a starter home, the insurance feels proportional. The math changes when your dollar goes further in Tampa. Now let me give you some real numbers, and I mean real, not national averages, not Zillow estimate. Here's what's actually happening in Tampa Bay right now. All right, here's some real numbers. For a standard single family home in Tampa Bay in 2026, here's what buyers are generally seeing. For example, inland areas like Wesley Chapel, New Tampa, Land O'Lakes, Riverview, Brandon, homeowners insurance roughly costs about $2,000 to $3,500 per year on a $400,000 to a $500,000 home. If flood insurance is required, add $600 to $1,500 on top of that. So total ranges you're looking at are between $2,600 to $5,000 annually. Now for areas mid-distance from water, like South Tampa, Carrollwood, Lutz, and Odessa, homeowners insurance roughly are about $3,000 to $5,000. Flood insurance varies significantly by specific addresses. Some blocks in South Tampa are at a higher risk, others aren't. So totals can range between $3,500 to $7,000 depending on the property. Now let's go to the waterfront and near coastal areas like Davis Island, Harbor Island, Apollo Beach, waterfront areas like Clearwater Beach and St. Pete Beach. This is where those numbers start to climb. $5,000 to $10,000 is real numbers for waterfront properties in these areas. And flood insurance typically is mandatory and expensive. This is where the scary headlines are being described, but that's not the entire market. Now, what does this look like on your monthly payment? On a $450,000 home in an inland area like Tampa, figure an insurance cost of around $3,000 to $4,000 per year. That's roughly $250 to about $350 per month. Add that to your mortgage, taxes, and HOA if applicable. That's your full picture. Is that higher than Ohio or Tennessee? Yes. Is it a deal breaker? For most buyers I work with, no. Especially when they see what $450,000 buys them in Tampa compared to where they're coming from. This is a section I wish every out-of-state buyer watched before they started their search, because this is where people get blindsided. Flood insurance. It's not included in your homeowner's policy. It's a completely separate coverage, and in Tampa Bay, because we're in a coastal market with significant waterways, flood zones matter on almost every transaction. Here's how it works. FEMA creates flood zone maps that are designated to properties that are high risk, moderate risk, or low risk. If you're in a high risk zone, technically called AE or VE zones, and you have a mortgage, flood insurance is federally required. If you're in a moderate or low risk zone, it's not required but often recommended. The cost difference is enormous. A high risk zone property might cost $4,000 to $8,000 per year for flood insurance alone. A low risk zone property might pay $600 to $900 per year for peace of mind coverage. Here's the trap. Two houses on the same street can be in different flood zones. Elevation matters. One house might be 2 feet higher than its neighbors and be in a completely different risk category. What smart buyers do? Before you get emotionally attached to a property, ask your agent to pull the flood zone designation and get a flood insurance estimate. This only takes a couple of minutes and can change the entire financial picture of a home. I do this for every buyer I work with before they get deep into negotiation. You should demand the same from whoever you work with. Okay, now I want to flip this because I've been giving you a lot of what to watch out for, but let me tell you what the buyers who navigate this well are actually doing. There's a version of a Tampa buyer who's working towards closing and finds out that the insurance is going to be $3,000 more than they budgeted. That's a miserable experience and it's almost entirely avoidable. Here's the playbook. Step 1. Perform a 4-point inspection during your inspection period. A 4-point inspection looks at 4 systems: the roof, the HVAC, the electrical, and plumbing. Insurance carriers care deeply about all 4, and if any of these systems are aged out, carriers will either charge more or decline coverage entirely. Step 2, ask for a wind mitigation report. If one exists on the property, it could be transferable, and a good mitigation report showing impact windows, reinforced roof connections, and a hip roof design can knock hundreds to over $1,000 off your annual premium. If one does not exist, it costs about $150 to get done during inspection period, and it's worth every dollar. Step 3, work with an independent insurance broker. Not a captive agent who only sells one company's product. An independent broker shops you property across multiple carriers and finds the best rate. I have relationships with brokers I trust, and I connect every buyer with one before they write an offer. Step 4, get an insurance estimate before you fall in love. This is the biggest one. Most buyers find a house they love, negotiate hard, go under contract, and then find out what insurance actually costs. By that point, they're emotionally invested and they rationalize numbers they should have questioned earlier. The buyers who have the best experience in Tampa are the ones who treat insurance as a part of the search criteria, not an afterthought. That's exactly how I run my buyer process. Now let's land this plane. Florida homeowners insurance is higher than most states. That's real and it's not going away. Flood insurance is a separate cost that surprises people who don't plan for it, and there are properties in Tampa Bay, mostly older waterfront homes in high flood zones, where the insurance picture is genuinely difficult. But here's what's also true. New construction in inland Tampa Bay offers some of the most manageable insurance costs in the state. The 2023 legislative reforms are working and carriers are coming back. And the buyers who do their homework before they start touring homes, they don't get surprised. Tampa is still one of the highest value relocation markets in the country. When you factor in no state income tax, lower property taxes than most high-cost states, the job market, the lifestyle, insurance is a real line item, but it's a manageable one for most buyers in this market. The key word is most, and the difference between most and the exception is the homework you do before you buy, which is exactly what we're gonna talk about in the Q&A coming up, because I know you want the answers to the specific questions that I know that you're already Googling or asking chat. All right, questions. Let me pull the ones I know buyers are actually searching for and give you the straight answers. How much is homeowners insurance in Tampa, Florida? For a single family home that's around $400,000 to $500,000, you're looking roughly between $2,500 to $5,000 per year, depending on the location. And of course, taking into consideration the roof age, construction type, and areas that are inland versus water. The closer you are to the water, the price definitely goes higher, and the age of construction as well. That's your baseline, so get a specific property quote before you start budgeting. Is Florida homeowners insurance getting better or getting worse in 2026? I would say we're actually on the curve of getting better, but carefully. The 2023 reforms cut the litigation abuse that was driving carriers out, and we've seen new carriers re-enter the state. Citizens insurance is shrinking, which is a positive sign, and rates are now falling. But the catastrophic increases between 2021 and 2020, rates are not falling, but the catastrophic increase of 2021 and 2023 have slowed. The market is stabilizing, not collapsing. And if you're scared off 2 years ago, the picture today is totally different. Do I need flood insurance in Tampa? If you're in a moderate or low risk zone, it's not required, but I usually recommend it in Florida given our weather patterns. Costs can vary dramatically, $600 a year in a low risk zone up to $5,000 or more in a high risk one. Pull the flood map zone for any property before you make an offer. What areas of Tampa have the most affordable homeowners insurance? Inland areas consistently come in lower. Areas like Wesley Chapel, New Tampa, Land O'Lakes, Lutz, Riverview, and Brandon all tend to have more favorable insurance environments than waterfront or near coastal areas. New construction in these areas, especially homes built post 2002 that have higher Florida building codes, often qualify for better rates. Keeping insurance costs down is a priority. If keeping insurance costs down is a priority, then it should be part of your criteria. What happens if I can't get homeowners insurance in Florida? Now, this can be a real fear, but is less common than the headlines suggest, especially if you're buying in inland Tampa Bay area versus extremely high-risk coastal zones. If a private carrier won't insure the property, Citizens Insurance, which is the state-backed option, will be your last stop. You will get coverage, but the real question will become at what cost and terms. If the property is genuinely difficult to insure, that's important information to have before you close, which is exactly why I recommend getting insurance quotes before and during due diligence, not after. Is it worth buying a home in Florida with high insurance costs? That's a really good question, and it's a real question. Here's my honest answer. It really depends on what you're comparing it to. If you're coming from New York, New Jersey, California, or Illinois, Florida's no state income tax alone saves most households $8,000 to $20,000 or more per year. And insurance is real money, but it's often one of the several line items that when you run the full financial comparison, still tips towards Florida. I run this comparison for buyers all the time. The answer is usually yes, if you buy the right property in the right area. What questions should I ask about insurance before buying a home in Tampa? Write these down. Here's 5 questions to ask. Number 1. What is the current roof age and when was it last replaced? Number 2, is there a wind mitigation report on the property? Question 3, what flood zone is this property in? Number 4, can I get an insurance estimate before I go under contract? And question number 5, has the current homeowner had any insurance claims on this property in the last 5 years? A claim history can affect your insurability. These 5 questions asked early eliminate almost every insurance surprise I've seen derail deals at closing. If you've watched this video, you're doing something most buyers don't. You're doing the homework before you're emotionally invested. And that's exactly the kind of buyer I love to work with. Here's what I want you to do right now. Drop the word insurance in the comments below. I'll personally send you the 5-question checklist I walk every out-of-state buyer through before they start their home search, including the insurance questions, flood zone lookup steps, and the inspection requests I make on every property. If you're further along and you want to talk specific neighborhoods, budget, timeline, there's a link in the description to book a call with me directly. No pressure, no pitch, just a real conversation about whether Tampa makes sense for your situation. And if you like this video and it helped you even a little bit, hit subscribe. I publish content about Tampa relocation specifically, what to buy, where to buy, what to avoid, and what the internet always gets wrong. You won't find generic real estate advice here. I'm Tamily Abdo, and I'll see you on the next one.